Yeah, Timothy Conway would never give instructions. If people asked for any kind of guidance on how to meditate or any of that, then he might give them some guidance. But most people that come usually have some kind of understanding on how they like to do it. And so, as long as it's not too disruptive. So I don't know how all this will work, but we'll just kind of see if I got enough length here. Something like that. Maybe this chair. I want it to be kind of natural so that it's not, all kinds of different things going on where I'm paying attention to. I think that's good enough. So I want to pay attention to you. Oh, okay. Yeah. So for people that are on the internet, they can actually come a little bit earlier where I pay attention to the camera and we talk. But so far last week we had one person and the week before we had one person. Today we had no one online. But it's just an avenue so that people that have read my books or seen my website or read some essays or want to make some kind of connection or questions or comments or things so that they feel like there's a bridge so they can come even if they're far away. And so if you can come physically, of course, that's my always. And so that's why I'm glad
like
you're...
at 6:30?
Yeah, I decided 15 minutes, but if it gets to be more people, then I might make it a little bit longer. And if it even gets to be a lot of people, then I'm going to have to shift the way it's done. Because right now, the people that show up, I can see them and I can hear them. But if it gets to be too many people, then I have to change to some technology where they can see me and they can hear me. But I can't see or hear them, but they can type questions and I can read. And that's if it gets to be more than I think some people say 5, some people say 10, other people say 20. I don't know. But I have been testing this in my house with 2 different computers just to see how it goes. But 2 is only 2, and it's not 10 or 20. So anyway, perhaps one way to start is to ask about backgrounds. I know that you're familiar with Timothy Conway. And Otto and Tom and I have been attending, and I've been attending every week for 11 years, but Timothy just recently, within the past couple of weeks, moved all the way to Phoenix. And he was giving satsangs in Santa Barbara for 25 years, every week.
Did he do movies and stuff? Was he
There's an actor with the same name. And to throw another curveball in it, Timothy Conway's father was an agent for actors, and one of the actors that he was an agent for.
I'm not thinking of the names. But Timothy Conway, did he have an event at City College? Through the City College at the Wake Center, Shot Center on movies and things. He didn't.
I think it would be the other Timothy Conway.
Really?
There's a reasonably famous Timothy Conway who is an actor who was a client of Timothy Conway's father. So if Timothy Conway's father got a phone call from his receptionist that says, Timothy Conway's on the phone, he didn't know whether it was his son or whether it was his client.
Okay.
So
I kind of knew what he did, I think.
Timothy, he got a PhD in psychological type, comparative religions. He wrote a PhD on enlightenment, very academic, very knowledgeable about Buddhism and Hinduism and the other non-dual traditions.
All non-dual traditions.
He would certainly look into Christianity and Judaism, and he would find like the mystical, exactly, these types of things. And he's really good at that. I, not so much. When Timothy used Sanskrit words or things like that, he would always say, and in English it means this. And that's the part that would stick with me. I'm not that good with foreign languages. I'm not good with other alphabets where the letters look strange. And when you put the 2 words together, then you change it again. And that's just not my strength. But Timothy's very good at that. And also Timothy being about my age, he woke up when he was only 16. And that's when he jumped into it. And he has such a scholarly capacity, but he's also very open-hearted. And so it was a really, a very good match for me as a teacher. And so I decided to stick around. I mean, when I first heard these points, it was not, wow, that's fantastic. It was like, I wonder what that really means. It sounds interesting. I think I'll come back next week. And so after a while, I was getting a broader understanding. And then I realized that, there was always a different group. And someone would come and ask a question about something. And it would be from a certain perspective. they would have a Buddhist perspective, and he would say, well, what kind of Buddhism? Where are you? Which part? You know, this Zen Buddhist, or you know, Tibetan Buddhism, or you know, or same thing. He would nuance everything and try and really dial into where the person was coming from. So I'll have to just do my best in that regard. But so you brought some books, so you might have some favorite things that you draw from, or
my teacher was a Advaita Vedantin from India. His name was Swami Dayananda Saraswati. Recently died.
Oh. So were you in person?
Very, very. Pardon?
Were you in person with this teacher?
Yeah.
Okay.
His ashram is in Pennsylvania, but he initially started teaching up north, where all the computer people live.
Oh, the Silicon Valley area.
Lots of Indian families and stuff brought him there.
Ah, how interesting.
But he chose to go to, I think there are more Indian families in New York, New Jersey area.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So he has a huge ashram there. And he would go back and forth to India. And so I would go there. I would go up north.
Yeah.
And it just spoke to me.
Exactly.
You know, I have a very scientific sort of brain. And so that I was raised Catholic.
I was raised Catholic. I have a scientific brain. I know what you're talking about.
Right. And it's very rational reason.
Yeah.
You know.
And there's a place for the ration and the reason and the cognitive process. And there's also the intuitive, because this is a deep truth that truly comes to the intuition. Yet, pure mind, a skillful use of the mind is very good. So
Swamiji's approach was totally knowledge only, not intuition, nothing mystical. He never taught us religion or any of that. It was strictly the Upanishads, period.
Yeah. Well, Timothy Conway has.
And I never knew him. I never even heard of him.
Yeah, one reason why Timothy is so unknown, even though he's been so involved in the community for so long, is that he hasn't really put himself out there. His wife, like I said, he's about my age, and his wife has fibromyalgia, and it's rather debilitating, and he just wants to be with her. He doesn't want to go off on weekend workshops or these kinds of things. And he also isn't at all leaning towards making any kind of a business out of this kind of thing. He just wanted to be available as the spiritual friend. And there's a specific Buddhist term for that, but I can't pronounce it and I don't remember what it was, but you get the picture. And so he made himself available once a week for satsang from 7 to 9, meditation first, and whatever came up was fine. And usually they were singing at the end. And we won't go quite till 9. We'll go to 8:45, unless something's really pressing and you don't feel complete. It's not like somebody's going to come and kick us out of here. So, but anyway, the idea was being a spiritual friend, and he just didn't market it very much. And so we had a very small group. When I first started going, I think there was something still that would be mentioned in the Independent. And so there were, and also he had more activity with the Santa Barbara Adult Education, which at the time was I think there was some government subsidy, California. And so people could take classes for free, and they would take them over and over again. And he had a variety of classes. I think he had at least 4. I only attended 1. And, they were good. He's a little more off the leash, shall we say, at satsang. He could be a little more flexible.
Where were the satsangs?
They moved around. When I first started attending them, they were in the San Roque area, really up high at the home that was his mother's. And then after... Do you have to go?
Yeah,
this is it? All right.
See you Tuesday.
Thank you so much for coming. Maybe tomorrow for the non-dual? I mean, for the...
tomorrow, yeah.
Tomorrow is the near-death experience group, 7 o'clock for free. They have a speaker every month, once a month. Okay, maybe I'll see you tomorrow. I sure hope to come.
Bye.
All right. So anyway, Timothy was a little bit reasonably well involved in that adult education. And then,
he was very involved.
Yeah. It might have taken more time than I realized. And also he's writing literally an encyclopedia on Zen because he loves Zen so much.
Zen is,
He's still working on it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't understand Zen.
It's a type of Buddhism. It's
Right,
a particular,
I knew that, those terms,
and I think
but
it's mostly in Japan, but you're not asking the right guy. Go
okay,
ahead, though.
Well, I was just gonna say, what I found that I liked about Zen, I would go up to, what's that place? It's a conference center. It was Christian and then the Sisters of
Combination.
Mercy.
How
would
interesting.
do- Yeah, that was kind of the avant-garde of the church, that they don't advertise, that the sisters, and they had Father Hand, who's a Jesuit up there. You know him?
No.
Oh,
Was that a
and
Sillamar?
huh?
Was that a Sillamar?
It's up near Stanford University, up in that area. It's they're pretty avant-garde. Anyway, that Father Hand, and they would bring those two together, which I find is a mix, because one is more Zen is how you process or you think.
It can be.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, I just know that they liked it, and somehow they could put them together, which I find interesting.
Yeah.
And I worked at a retreat center that was very avant-garde, because they had Jesus in the lotus position, and they were Sisters of Social Service, and they were just very. They brought Phenomenon of Man, Teilhard Chardin.
Yeah.
And so I just was right after I had converted, and it was like, it was shocking kind of, but I loved it. And so I just saw this oneness automatically. I thought I didn't know what you called it at the time, but I knew the Phenomenon of Man made sense to me, the evolution. Are you Teilhard Chardin?
Well, I work with some of what he offers. His most famous quote is that quote, "You are not a human being having a spiritual experience."
Is he the one that wrote that?
Maybe I have the wrong person. Anyone helping me?
You're not a human being. You're a spiritual person having.
Let me say it. You're not a human being having a spiritual experience. You're a spiritual being having a human experience. And this is a very important step up in understanding. And what we offer here is even a deeper understanding, that you are not a being of any kind, physical or spiritual. You are pure awareness. This awareness is the divine awareness. This awareness is the source awareness. And this awareness is looking out of your eyes right now. Now, I have that on the back of my book because I like it so much. But what we're talking about here is often not really talked about so clearly. When I started talking and hanging out with Timothy, he would say it simply, there is awareness and there are objects of awareness. And in this we have God and creation. And so it's also sometimes said to be the formless and the form. And this is often discussed through the metaphor of the actor and the character. And one way to look at it is that we can clearly see that the actor is the source of the character. The character is not the source of the actor. The character cannot go on the stage without the actor. The actor can drop the role of the character at any time and still remain the actor. And because of this, we wisely make a distinction between the actor and the character because of this dependent character and transcendent source actor. And yet, when the actor arises as the character, they are one. The actor is fully permeating the character on every level. Every single quality or aspect of the character is truly a quality or characteristic that the actor is choosing to put on display. The apparent will and power of the character is truly the will and power of the actor. If you're looking at the character and you want to find the actor, you don't have to dig down to a deeper and deeper layer. The actor is present at every level. When you look into the eyes of the character, you're looking directly into the eyes of the actor. So we say that the actor is fully permeating, saturating this character. And this is why we say they are one. So which is it? Are they one or are they two? It depends upon the perspective. And I like to have people understand the dependent nature of creation. Because what we're talking about here, I mean, of course, I was using a metaphor of an actor and a character in the sense of a Hollywood movie or something. But of course, you understood that the metaphor was about God and creation. So we're talking about this transcendent self. This is you. This awareness has no thing-like qualities. It cannot be seen. The ancient Upanishads, as you probably know, refer to this awareness as the unseen seer of seeing. The unseen seer of seeing.
Of seeing?
Yes.
Of seeing.
The unheard hearer of hearing. The unfelt feeler of feelings. In other words, this awareness perceives and yet cannot be perceived. And we call it source awareness because it, through the miracle of creation and emanation and arising as, is the source of all phenomena, all things, all objects. And that's why we call it source awareness.
Why do you suppose it needs humans?
And, can you hold your thought?
Maybe.
No. I'm just giving you a moment. I'm just giving you a moment to let it go right into your noggin so that we don't lose it too quickly. But the question why, when it comes to the miracle of creation, it is, I want to enthusiastically encourage you to stand in wonder and awe and acknowledge that I am not here to answer or explain this miracle of creation. When I use this word explain, I'm talking about answering the questions of why or how. But when it comes to what, I will put a little sliver on the table about what's going on to help us have a practical understanding. So here I'm making a distinction between explaining, which would be a really full, in-depth, and just a little description. Do you see what I'm saying here? Okay, let me help you out. Your science is good, right? We'll talk about science just a little bit. Scientists, there's a hummingbird right there. Hi. Scientists talk about time. This is really easy. Space, energy, and matter. Now, a scientist cannot tell you really, completely, what time really is. But they can measure it and put it in an equation. They cannot tell you really what space is, but they can measure it and put it in an equation. And similar things can be said about energy and matter. So an equation, the most famous equation in all of physics, E equals mc squared, has time, space, energy, and matter in it. But it does not really explain what those things are. It's just a sliver of a description of what happens. You see what I mean? Or we could use another example if you want. But it's just a little sliver about the what. And what does a little sliver of the what bring to them? It's okay. It's not a problem with anything down there. It brings them some practicality, a practical way of dealing with the words. When I first started getting into this, I didn't realize how practical it is and how it's not the answer for everything. Because I used to think, well, I have such a curious mind. I wanted to know everything, you know? So one time I came up to Timothy very early, because I heard people saying this kind of thing about there is no outside world out there. You know, it's all in your head or whatever. So I said, Timothy, is there really an outside world out there? And he just said to me, this question does not lead to liberation. And I just went, oh, I don't even need to worry about that anymore. I'm completely off the hook. So I could see it in the way that it's commonly seen, that there's an outside world out there, and there's a physical being that cruises around and experiences things. And I could also see it as just arising in your awareness without, in other words, kind of like a dream, a nighttime dream. People will say, I had a dream where I climbed up a mountain, you know, and then they wake up and they may or may not hold the opinion that that mountain really doesn't exist in a way that we might think. And yet it existed from an experience point of view. It existed as an experience, you know. So some people will say that this exists only as an experience, and other people will say that there is an objective reality which we are experiencing. But both lead to the same place. You are here with an experience. You see what I mean? And you had a question, and I don't know if you can.
Okay. Well, I'm not a scientist, and that's what's so great about our friendship. She's a scientist, I'm more.
But you see what I mean about the mystery of time and space?
Well,
it's a total mystery, and yet they measure it. And
don't give me any more, because I have my thoughts and I want to express them. And so when you go, I lose my thought. Could you call, and I'm simple explanation on this. So this, whatever you're talking about, this
awareness.
Awareness. Okay, don't hold back a minute. Is awareness the same as, don't answer this, hold on, consciousness? And is the awareness what some people might call the creator God? Forget the word God, but the creator.
Mm-hmm.
There's another, and you can't grasp that because it's a mystery, plain and simple. We don't know, we don't understand, but we want to. And so through that wanting, I think people have come down to show us. I'm getting off. Okay, number one, is awareness and consciousness the same? And the creator, is that people give different names to that?
Yes, of course.
Okay, that's where I get not confused, but I'm clear, because I can remember Jung talking about the self, and I want, and now I don't even care. I just figure people have different names for things. But I remember there was a time when I felt like almost like an addict, where I had to know who God was, what God was. You know, it was just.
And why this is happening.
Yeah, well, that was me as this, whatever you want to call us, spark or whatever, wanting to know. So that was a mind thing or something. That, you know, I couldn't put it together. So I wanted to know, and I didn't know how to find out. Just tell me.
What you're talking about is this passionate curiosity. Is that right?
Yeah.
Right? And Timothy would always say, the people that he most enjoyed having show up were the people that had sincere curiosity. And this curiosity transforms into wisdom. And this sincerity transforms to even more love. So when I first heard these things, it was not, okay, got it. It was like, it took months for me to figure out, even though it actually is a very simple thing, what I'm pointing to, it is so different from the way we are accustomed to thinking that, and it points to the same functionality that we normally think of. In other words, you think of yourself as a person, and tonight you're going to go home and go to sleep, and tomorrow is another day, and all of these kinds of things. We're not going to give that up when we talk about who this true self is as pure awareness. The pure awareness is not going to go to sleep tonight. The person is going to go to sleep tonight. Fundamentally, the person, you are fundamentally this open awareness. So that's why this metaphor of the actor and character and how they infuse into each other. When you think about it, when that actor is standing on the stage, and let's say the actor is playing a part of a fireman, okay? Now, you look at the fireman. Is there really a fireman up there? No, there's an actor pretending to be a fireman.
So then you're saying we are, like Shakespeare says, we're all actors. Da, 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 da.
Yeah, exactly. Well, actually, we would say that there is one actor who is.
Spending her time upon the
On the
stage.
stage.
Well, I figure you all knew it.
Oh, it doesn't matter.
Huh?
So it's nice to say a lot of
Okay, I
Shakespeare.
know. I don't want to get off on Shakespeare, but what
Right,
I'm
you
trying
can-
to do is focus on, in a simple way, are you saying there is a trueness in us that is of God, of creation that is a pure, if you say God, just say, I'm gonna say God, or this.
I'm good with God.
Okay, is everybody okay with God?
Oh yeah.
For the
I don't-
purposes of the discussion, sure.
Okay.
I don't happen to like the word, but
No, but
it's
you,
your one.
I got you.
so, the source within us of this transcendent, what we can't
Yeah.
name, is within everybody.
Just like that actor is permeating that character.
But some people choose to, I guess what I believe, I've always kind of believed that, but I didn't put names on it. But I think the closer the person that we are, the actor,
The person.
the better, the more, the better part of humanity that we are, I call personhood and the character of that person. So the
Right.
better we are as a person, the more the light shines
Yeah.
through.
Yeah, and when you use this word character, you're talking about virtue.
Virtue.
Yeah.
Of things that are not of us, they are of us, but it's the spirit, what some people might call it the Holy Spirit. coming
Exactly.
Through.
Right.
Maybe there's a difference in divine spirit and a spirit of humanity. I don't know that.
Yeah. Okay, well, I like a lot of what you said, and one word that you said is this actor that we are. So if we take that one word and switch it for character, the character, and the actor is the awareness. And this one, we refer to it, remember I said that this awareness is not a thing
Right.
and cannot be perceived in any way. So we can say the word imperceptible. Sometimes I say invisible in every way.
The mystery.
But it cannot be perceived. But it's you. This is why it's not so out of the realm that you know it, because it's you. But anyway, what I was saying is this transcendent source awareness, completely invisible in every way, is arising as each and every person. So one actor is arising as this character and this character and this character in a multitasking kind of way. Is that
So are
something
you
you can
saying-
maybe start thinking
Well,
about?
you're way ahead of me on I just, simplicity for me is this transcendent mystery is perceived, we can't name it because it's too big, is working through all humanity.
It is.
That's how, it's simple.
So you used
Well-
the word spark before,
Well,
And
we're
sometimes-
sparks.
and sometimes people say each of us is an expression of the ineffable.
Right.
And I think that's true.
Okay.
And for that matter, maybe a chair is also
Of
an
course,
expression.
everything is an
Of-
expression of
Well,
the
we
divine.
know matter is, I don't know if it's,
So let's talk about this a little bit. Each of you know without a doubt that you are completely and totally unique. There is not another one of you exactly the way that you are. And yet we all have commonality. We have common human experiences, So this uniqueness that arises is an expression of this one awareness arising as this unique expression. This is what I mean by the actor arising as this person, and this invisible actor arising as this person, a unique expression, a creation. And this is arising through the mystery of creation, right?
I think it.
God is arising as.
Okay, that I understand. I think whenever you get different people in a room, there's terms, you know, like if you're taking literature of American literature, you have different terms,
Mhm.
a glossary.
Yeah.
And so when you say act, you know, I'm like, okay, that's what
So
this
this-
is God.
Right.
So I have to translate that.
So for me, I'm very comfortable saying it this way. God is arising as everyone, and God is doing everything. When you think about that actor and the character can never do something on its own. Only the actor can make the character do something.
There's no free will.
You are this open awareness, and this is unbounded. This is you. This is your unlimitedness. And this is why people, if they over-identify with the person and they hear me say that the character has no will or power of its own, they mishear me and they think I'm saying that they do not have free will, because they're saying, well, this is me. I'm saying this is you. The unbounded open awareness is you.
The true you.
And you feel alive. You know you are alive. You know you are aware. But what most people do is they think that they are a thing that is alive. They think that they are a thing that is aware. What I'm saying is that you are not a sentient being. You are sentience itself. Now, this took me months and months and months to think about this thing, because we think, you see a dog, you say, that dog is aware. That dog has consciousness, and it does. And you asked about consciousness. Yes, there's a difference between consciousness and awareness in a surprising way. As God, awareness, arises as each and every soul, those souls, an equivalent term for a soul is personal consciousness. I use the word personal, this is from Timothy, the word personal because it is a person, you see, and you have your personal consciousness, and you have your personal consciousness. And in the ancient text, this is the jiva.
No, I was
The
thinking
jiva.
Atman, no?
The Atman is the awareness. The
The
individual self, the jiva, the soul.
Jiva.
Jiva, the soul. I don't use too much Sanskrit because, like I said, I'm not that good with language, but jiva I can handle. And then this is the trick that really throws people into the wow. And I'll put it on the table, and if you don't like it, that's fine. I'm not here to say, hey, look, you're gonna fail this class if you don't do it this way. You know, it's not like this. This is what's so fantastic about the individuality of all of us. You get to do it what works for you, you know, what allows you to celebrate being you. And the more that you find traction with that, the more you come forward as a loving, happy, peaceful person. So here it is. This aliveness, this invisible, imperceptible awareness, God creates all of reality, all worlds, spiritual worlds, physical worlds, and all of it is inert, having no life of its own, or not being the source of its own apparent life, but it's infused with this aliveness that comes from it, from who you really are. So it can make it seem as if, as some mystics like to say, everything is alive, including an electron or a rock, and most certainly animals, you know, and some people would say plants, because people can commune with plants in a way that makes them feel very much alive. So this inertness is animated, just like a character is animated. So it's not doing it on its own. The will and power is with God. So
do individual personal consciousnesses have free will or not?
no.
We have no free will.
See, now right there, you identified with yourself as the personal consciousness.
Yeah, but you said of each of us earlier that that's on
That
one level,
is
that's
that
what we
is the
are.
person, but you are not fundamentally, that's the key word, you are not fundamentally the person. Fundamentally, you are only this open source, transcendent reality, and you can never stop being that. Just like the actor comes forward as this character and this
So
character.
this source is animating each of us.
Mhm.
Okay. And what we imagine is our free will is actually direct orders.
That
I'd say.
that actually could be held as a functional.
I'm asking.
It's a little different than that, because you're assuming that there's a way to say okay, or I'm going to do it or whatever. But it is so. Let's look at the character and the actor again. We'll try this. Suppose this is about the ability of the character to push back against the actor. Okay, so if the character is this fireman, and the scene, the movie, this is an artificial construction. We're making a story here. This is Hollywood. This is not, Hollywood is making a story that is not real in the same way that the greater reality of Hollywood is. And you see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
There is a stage and everyone knows, okay, so there's the set, it's got a house, it's on fire, there's someone in there, and the role of the character as a fireman, his script says, go in there and save that person. And so now can the character push back against the actor and say, whoa, that looks really, really dangerous.
I'm not going in.
I'm not going in there. I mean, you can go if you want, but I'm not going. You see? So that the character is so infused with the will and power of the actor. There is no will of the character. It looks like the will of the character, but it isn't even a separate will. And this is true of your mind too. There is only one mind. There is only one power. There is only one will. And this is the divine will.
Okay. I understand, because I actually believe that, what you're saying about the divine. I guess where I'm having a problem is, I know when I turn my day over and ask for, I make a conscious effort to turn my will and my care over to the care of God.
Mhm.
And my day goes a little different than when I do it myself.
Smoother. Yeah.
Now, when I don't turn it over,
Mhm.
we know, don't we?
Yeah.
Okay.
More bumps in the
So
road.
I'm making choices. Whether you call it free will, we have choices in our life.
So let's think about this a little bit.
Okay.
Why don't you let him speak a little bit more about this?
Were you done?
Well, I don't know. I think I hear what you're. If I'm, I can tell the difference when I'm connected and when I'm not. Let me put it that way.
Exactly.
I can feel.
Of course,
it.
absolutely.
and
There's a compass
sometimes
and a way it
things just
feels.
like, wow, whoa. They just things just move a different way because I'm out of the way,
Mhm.
maybe. But somebody says something happens, or my kids. Okay, and I react to that.
Mhm.
I don't know if I'm getting there or not. Okay, I'm making a choice. Okay, I can hold back and just let them speak and not react and just kind of wait a while, maybe call them back later. Or I can say, I'm really blah, 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 and then react to that. That's my free will reacting. I have a choice to say something back or not say something back. Is that too simple?
It's just open it up a little bit.
Okay.
It is the choice and expression of who you truly are as this open awareness. In other words, let's go back to the
Are
fire.
they mixing together?
If I stand up here and say, I am a soldier, is the soldier and the actor different? Are they mixed together? They're so fully permeated. There is no separation at all. Can you think of the actor on the stage?
But then you bring in maybe the soul kind of thing, a soul.
Okay, we can do that.
Wait a minute. If there's this, I don't like the particular metaphor of actor. if there is this ineffable, we'll call it God.
Yeah, let's call it God.
If there is this ineffable, then how come, and everyone is simply a direct connection, directly connected, how come there's so many different opinions in this world and so many different ways of behaving in the world? If everybody is just a receptacle, so to speak, of this.
Exactly. God is arising as everyone, and God is doing everything. And why God is doing it this way is a complete mystery to
So
me.
in other words, God likes a lot of variety.
Apparently.
And God is also a drama queen. I
Right.
know that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because I was going to ask, if we succeed in blowing ourselves up and pretty much destroying the planet, is God, or is he just going to say, well, you know, other species are going extinct now, that's over, we'll try something else.
But you're making God a person.
Exactly.
Okay, well,
And
that,
that you
okay,
can't
I'm
do.
listening.
Yeah.
And if we, what will this ineffable thing, this consciousness, this awareness, imagine to itself, having created humans, and just mess it all up?
Just as Tom said, it's a mystery. That part, you're asking why, and
Yeah,
that
and why-
cannot be answered.
Why is just
It's
no one
that's
has
a
ever.
human concept.
You know, I can maybe time to assign and try and research the best answer that I've ever found. But just off the from where I'm at right now, after all of these lifetimes, I have no answer to why. Here's a couple other points. Go to some new points. I think we want to go back to the free will that you were talking about expressing as far as going along and things go smoother, and putting it, and then pushing back and things go rougher. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I kind of want to come back to that point.
We have free will and expression. I can sit here and not say anything. Maybe that's too simple.
But you were talking about how your day can go better.
My life and my care over free will.
Okay, the Christians like the.
Not only that, I think there's a 12-step program that does that.
Well, I was specifically talking about Jesus's words. Your will be done. Father, let your will
The
be
mind
done.
of Christ, or what?
Well, you can help me out with the Bible quote. I'm good with that. In the Garden of Gethsemane, doesn't he say a prayer to his Father?
Yeah, okay, that's a good. Let your will be done, not mine.
Exactly.
But he says, not mine. Let
Yes,
your will be
exactly.
done.
Now,
You're
you
saying
know,
he doesn't have a free will.
exactly. And, you know, this in words is usually going to have some flaws.
Yeah,
All
I read
teaching
that.
stories have
Yeah.
flaws. And so what I like to do is ask myself the question, when I hear something that, well, I can you hold that for just a second? I like to just ask myself, true? And I search for how is this true? Rather than saying, as we often did in science, this is why that's not true, and I'm throwing the whole thing away. I'm going to go into it and go, you know, because I know it's not a perfect metaphor. Can you go now, Ida? Is that good?
Yeah, I was thinking, okay, character, using your metaphor. Oh, I think of Jiva. Could it be that as the character, human character, that we've created this thing of free will? You know, that it's a concept that as a human being we brought into
We
being.
utilize.
And we do that
Yeah.
with this
Everything.
thing. Yeah, exactly.
Well, some people do
And
say.
then we convince ourselves that it's reality. You know, like you were just speaking, well, I have a choice to do this or that. Is that real?
Yeah, it's impossible to prove that free will really exists because you just have no way of implementing it, but it sure feels like it. And the reason why is because you are that aliveness. You are that unbounded source. This is who you are. You cannot stop being this open awareness. Fundamentally, you are source awareness. You are unbounded, and you know this.
Mm-hmm.
And so you translate that into what this experience is. This experience as a person is one heck of a convincing illusion. I mean, it is extremely vivid.
Okay.
You know, I mean, it is like, whoa.
All right, let me do this then. Okay. Do you know who Richard Rohr is?
I've heard the name, but I couldn't
Well,
speak on it.
he's into oneness. That's the only reason. I'm not trying to.
No, I'm perfectly fine with you asking who.
Okay, well, no, that's okay. He is a Catholic priest, but he's very avant-garde and he talks about oneness a lot. So why am I bringing that up? Okay, let me scratch that. Let me go back to this. I guess what I believe psychology has a point, but I think the spiritual dimension of us is bigger. The psychology of the human being, I think when you're raised with, quote, the perfect parents, which many people don't have, right? Did you say that? Okay. They try. But I mean, I'm just saying, if you
Of
had
course.
Mary and Joseph as your parents, then as a child, you would have the mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual dimensions as you're growing up. And most of us know when you see a child, how they grow, then they have a sense of self. First, there's no self. It's just all connected to mom. We're all together. Then there's a separate self. So they grow in these dimensions as a person.
As a person, right?
Going into
Exactly.
person, what did I call it? I had the word, not personhood. I forgot the name but for a fully alive, developed human being, which we don't like that term. No.
I'm okay with it, but
Okay,
but
well, I totally feel that because, I mean, I had two children and 4 grandchildren, so I see these dimensions, and when a child develops with a sense of God or whatever the religion is, something greater than themselves, there's a different. They have a different. This is my belief. I see a difference in or love. Let's put it as love. Let's not even put a name other than when they come. Oh, now I'm losing myself. But I just believe in these developmental stages. And I think that's what Western psychology has given us in communication and these different dimensions. And eventually they hook up with the divine, the true self within us. And it's a greater expression of the person.
I understand that perspective. And what
Oh my God. Okay.
no, you aren't. And there isn't anyone there. And if you're uncomfortable with it, I'll just turn it off right
No,
away.
that's okay, as long as,
No, it's just him,
okay,
just Thomas.
okay, thank you.
You would be paid handsomely. I'm kidding.
I have free will.
What you put on the table is very, very practical and functional, and it's a very helpful way of understanding things. And it's not really out of line with the depth of what I'm putting on the table too. I just say things like, for example, you said you would connect with the divine, and the divine is always connected. Creation and God are so intimate. There is no difference. It is never different. Everything is fully divine. However, some things are a more harmonious expression. War and peace are seen by people like myself as real, and we can distinguish between one from the other. We don't confuse the two. And in fact, a lot of people, when they hear this phrase non-dual wisdom, they think that what this means is that there is no duality. Here's what the phrase is pointing to. It's called non-dual wisdom because God and creation are one reality, not two.
Yes.
This is the not two that plugs in with that. Now, when it comes to hot and cold, heads and tails of a coin,
Right.
Male and female, we have dualistic expressions. Those are the 3 ways that I see duality arising. A coin is a thing that exists, and it always has 2 things there. It's 2 sides, always present.
But it's still a coin.
It's one coin, one thing arising in 2 ways. Gender, most of the time, expresses itself in the body with only one of the dualistic expressions at one time. So it's different than the coin. If you look at hot and cold, you have two extremes, and temperature is arising on a continuum, an infinite continuum between these two extremes, these two polarities. Those are the three different ways that duality arises. And what the non-dual wisdom says is that all of it is valid and all of it is honored. Some people in the non-dual tradition will try to tell you that hot is cold, or that hot and cold don't exist. This is not the healthy, wholesome way. We honor hot and cold for what they are as they arise in the way we experience it, including good and evil. Yes.
Okay. Okay, see if I can explain this. I think there are different realms.
Yes, there are.
Okay, there's many
Spiritual realms.
Okay.
Yes, I'm not an experiencer, and I'm not going to speak from an expert perspective, but I'm with you.
In this realm, people, there is, in my belief system, good and evil.
Yes.
And on different realms, maybe there is no such thing.
Exactly.
But in where I can see on what I see as loving and good and the virtues, and I see somebody, I don't even want to go into what evil is. I think we all
Of course,
know it.
yes, right. We're
Then
clear
I'm
on that.
going, and good can come out of that. I don't doubt that.
Exactly.
But there's still an evil behavior.
Absolutely. There's a
The
disharmonious.
behavior is not good.
The expression.
So I get excited about this.
The expression is
Not good.
evil.
Yes.
Yes, I'm fine with calling an expression
Yeah,
evil.
that's where I get. I'm kind of at a point now where I don't know where I'm coming or going, because I have so many deep beliefs, and I've had experiences where I felt all one. I actually have felt all one with the earth and the grass.
Mhm.
And I sat there and I was part of it.
Mhm.
So I know that experience.
Exactly, right.
And I've had septic shock where I was supposed to die and I didn't. Ida thinks it's all medical, but I know differently. Or she thinks it's the medical saving me, and I think it was both. But anyway, I know what I experienced when I was out to another dimension. So all I'm saying is, this dimension, I think maybe there is like a free will where we're thinking we have free will, where other dimensions, it may not be so. I don't know what I'm saying.
Well, when it comes to the free will, I just wanted to say that the actor could come forward in the character as that fireman and exhibit some pushback. I'm not going in there, man. It looks too dangerous.
But his consciousness is, yes, you are.
No, the absolute awareness is
Bigger.
Is creating the resistance, the feel of resistance. So that's why for a person, there is a sense of surrendering to God. But it's all done by God. And before, when there was no surrender, and that resistance was there, and it's all about me and me and me,
Right.
That's what's being brought forward at that time. And so then the actor brings forth a softening of
You mean
this.
the ego.
This is called the purification of the ego, where, let's just double check on what you mean by that, because the word ego can mean a lot of different things. Some people use the word ego to mean the infinitely selfish part of you, which can never go away.
Right.
I don't use it that way. I see it as a personality construct. The ego is a personality construct, and it can be purified. There can be a lessening or a softening of selfish tendencies, or self-centered tendencies or desires, so in that sense, yes, there's a purification, and things can regress too sometimes, I mean, it can go both ways. So I see it as God arising as everyone, and yet not everyone is arising at the same level of spiritual understanding or behavior or attitudes. And so there can be rambunctious characters, maybe harmfully rambunctious, but then there can be some rambunctious characters that are harmful, no question. And so in this arena, we can say that there's justice and injustice. And as people tune into the greater reality of who they are going to more and more be inclined towards working towards justice. You aren't going to wake up to everything being God and being done by God and go to the murderer, you did a great job. Can I help you with the next one?
Mhm.
You know, that's not what's going to happen. It's going to be, we're here to take away your freedom in the world so that you're not romping around harming people.
So are you saying the murderer, the rapist
Exactly.
are doing, let's see if I can get this out, the best they can with the mind that they have? And with
You
the-
could put it that way. I wouldn't argue
No,
with that.
I've
It's
heard that.
it's God coming forth as that. So we don't want to just give them what is it, a free pass. Don't want to give them a free pass. Like, that's okay, because I know you're God. You're 100% God, so
that's
keep
all
it up.
within God is what you're saying.
Everything is
I
within
can
God.
understand that, but
Yeah.
I don't get right now. I think we're all within this God, this, I
Yes.
believe that.
Every individual expression.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just don't understand when somebody's acting as an animal instinct with no consciousness, that is not God acting. I can't go there yet.
You mean that is still God
No,
acting?
yeah, God doesn't act. No, people act, but God does not. God doesn't do actions. Go ahead, Tom. You even want to say something.
I mean, I've been listening to the whole. Listen, okay. To me, in science, it's easy to look at the concept of paradox. In time and space, it's like there's always a paradox, because if it's like the uncertainty principle in quantum. You don't. The closer you get to an absolute location, the more smeared out the time gets, and vice versa. So,
But that's only in quantum.
Wait,
no, it's not.
I'll let you
It's-
talk
it's-
about that.
You can't, because that's building blocks of everything. So, but
Well-
the thing is that as far as movement goes, the idea of being an absolute place and an absolute time, and the concept of movement itself is a paradox. Because it's something, okay, it's either in this spot or this spot at this infinitesimally small period of time. So where is it? Is it stopped in that spot, or is it in two spots? So to me, it's like all of these concepts is relativism. I don't know. Like, we want answers, and it's like the bottom line gets to be is like, what helps us? That's the litmus test. If
Exactly.
God helps you, and this concept helps you, as far as the whole context of everything, what is it? What is it not? I don't know.
Well, let me put it to you this way. I usually get along really well with atheists. I don't care if they don't believe in God. I mean, most of these atheists have an understanding of the value of respecting someone and appreciating someone. And they have an understanding,
Irrational, you mean?
and they have an understanding of justice and injustice.
Yeah.
You know, so do I need to fix them, you know, so that they take on the non-dual? No, they're them. And there are many people who are religious or spiritual, or maybe they consider themselves both or whatever, that also have a functional, practical understanding of the world to the extent that they need, of themselves to the extent that they need, and how they fit into the world. This is the same as your pets, right? A little dog needs to know a little bit about the world. They don't need to understand the whole world, but they need to understand a little bit about it, and they need to understand a little bit about them as a dog, and they need to understand how they fit together. And if they can see that, then they're like this. But if there's something about that they're going to be anxious, and they're going to let you know.
Some of them are lucky dogs.
Yeah.
There's one right now, being animated right there.
So, in other words, some people that have a certain religious bent and rigidity say, them because they
Exactly.
can't, if they were not free, they
Exactly.
would go nuts,
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If they were not free,
no,
If they were-
they don't have they have to have these
they have no
constructs
boundaries.
because it makes everything okay, right and wrong, good and bad.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
there's no variable, and then there's people that have no right, wrong. I mean, we got it all.
Now, see, yeah, that's a psychopath.
Yeah.
I think
right.
that's what you're talking about. Yeah,
But there
okay.
was something other, I hear what you're saying, that whatever works, but at least give it some thought. Is that what you're saying, Tom? Whatever works for you with some awareness, maybe.
Well, I mean, to me, it's like everything's relative. So, and a lot of the litmus tests is such that, okay, this person's doing this, they're happy, I want to be happy, I want to have love in my life, whatever, all this stuff that we term as good in our relative existence as a human, you look at, okay, they're doing that. It doesn't really matter what my mind says. The whole concept of existence to me seems like a paradox. You start looking at time and space and all this stuff. It's fun to play with, but it doesn't have anything to do with, should I do something to have a fulfilling life or do something to have a miserable life? I'm going to go for the fulfilling. So it's like the question of like, well, is it this and whatever.
Are you a science teacher?
No.
Okay.
I like physics. But
okay. But the other, okay, yeah, I think I hear what you're saying, and I just lost something.
it has to, the question as to whether you should or shouldn't do something should be in looking at the results, not in the measuring. In this case, you can't measure this. We can't say, oh, we're gonna measure it like this, and then okay, now that we'll do this meditation thing. All we can do is look at the people that do it and say, oh,
They seem to be,
that's working.
yeah.
I think it's a little more than that. I think it's explanation. I mean, when I started listening to Swamiji, I had to pay attention a lot until I got to the place where he began to teach me. I began to hear the words over and over, and I got where he was going, and then finally he got there one day, and I went, holy shit, he just told me I was God. I mustn't have heard that right. And so I ran to line up at the door to talk to him. And I said, yeah, that's exactly what
I was wondering what door you were running to. Was it the exit door? Or was it
No, when you used to say that, I'd look at her like.
Yeah. Now,
but the thing is that he built A and B and C and D, and he led me there.
Yeah.
Step by step by step.
Now
I stuck to it, and I was gratified.
The person, Ida, is fully divine, 100%.
I believe
and
that.
every person is fully divine. And
I don't believe it. I know it. That's the thing. See,
But she knows one thing and I know another.
He
So
doesn't go through faith. What we're talking, doesn't go through faith. It goes through knowledge.
and
What
I would
you're
call it,
Speaking
See,
is
she goes-
knowledge, right?
I would call it an intuitive knowing.
Yeah, see, I don't.
Yeah.
I
See, she
think
goes-
that's too airy-fairy for me, because my intuition may be a little different than yours. And
Well,
how
do you want to work on
See,
this a
you're
little bit?
talking about an experiential thing, whereas knowledge is not experience.
Well, let's talk about this. The person is fully divine,
Yes.
and yet it always changes.
Yeah, are you talking about? I'm going to use your metaphor. The character, or okay, the character. Yes.
Now, when I use the word
yes.
person, I'm talking about
talking
this
about
unique
jiva,
expression
jiva.
here, and this expression here, and this expression here. The jiva,
The
the
jiva.
soul. The jiva, the soul is always transforming,
Right.
and yet who you are is this open, unchanging awareness.
Right.
It's transcendent. Yeah. And this is also divine. It's transcendent. Its reality is the transcendent reality that gives birth to the dependent jiva, gives birth to all jivas, all personal consciousnesses that are all dancing. And they're often called universal consciousness, but this is a little more than I want to get into right now. But that's the distinction I make. You asked if consciousness and awareness are the same. The ancient traditions say no. They clearly show awareness as open, unchanging. When we use this word awareness, we're talking about the power of sentience. It's also source awareness, so it gives birth to all worlds. But in here we find consciousnesses. There's one awareness, many, many personal
Right.
consciousnesses.
And this is where we kind of, because she's scientist and I'm more experienced. I don't know if I'm saying that, I'm doubting the way I'm saying it. I'm more experiential and I believe we are divine, but I believe we are part of the divine, not the creator of the world
Yeah.
or the
You're not
universe.
part of the divine, you are
See, this
divine.
is where I can't.
The person as the character, each character is part of the physical expression, and the totality of that physical expression is the manifest part of the divine. But there's also the unmanifest, the transcendent, the unmanifest, transcendent nature,
God,
which is God
can you
and is you. This is you.
part of that, a spark of that?
No, this is you. Fundamentally, this is you. And this awareness that I'm talking about is the awareness that's looking out of your eyes right now. What's looking out of your eyes right now is not a sliver of this awareness. It is this awareness. This awareness, we use the word one, but it's not because we're counting it as a thing. It is not a thing.
No.
We use this word one because this awareness is always whole. This awareness is never broken into pieces.
No, I know that.
It's never broken into pieces that are separate or pieces that are connected. This awareness never branches out like branches on a tree, the one awareness and your awareness and her awareness and her awareness. This awareness is always whole. And this is the awareness that's looking out of your eyes. This is the
whole from the creator.
Is the creator. Is the creator.
But
in its fundamental nature.
yes. However, I did not create the universe or the world.
You did.
Okay. All right.
But the person, Gloria, did not. Thomas has never created a universe, not even once. Each person is incapable of creating universes. Only who you are as this transcendent source awareness creates all worlds.
That's why we have all the same ingredients. Is that what you're saying? As not ingredients.
You could say that the essence of who you are is this transcendent.
Of all of the transcendent.
Yeah. Like I said, sometimes this simplicity is it's so different from what you normally think of. But when Timothy put it on the table this way, awareness and objects of awareness, that's all there is. This is the transcendent source, God, and this is creation, awareness and objects of awareness. These objects of awareness arise out of awareness. Awareness emanates as all of creation, all things, all objects, all phenomena that can be perceived. Anything that can be perceived in any way, including intuitive understanding, thoughts, nighttime dreams, anything that can be perceived in any way is a construction, is something that's been created, is not fundamentally this open source awareness. It is open source awareness manifest.
Do you know the story of the elephant that Timothy tells? And what is it?
Touching the parts of the elephant.
This is what this reminds me of, this whole conversation. Well, no, it's this.
Oh, the trunk and the
everyone's touching it and they touch a different part of it and they think it's something else.
Right, they describe, well,
the big side.
Oh, an elephant is a real skinny thing.
It's like a rope. An elephant is like a rope. And then they touch the side of the elephant. Oh, it's like a wall.
So then you would pray to no one because you're not praying.
This is a really good point, because prayer is helpful for people. There's no question about that. I want to touch on a quick point. You mentioned something that might have implied that you thought that I said that I don't like the phrase human being. I do like the phrase human being. I'm just saying these are human beings here. They're not fundamentally who you are, is what I mean by that. So let's talk about prayer. Have you felt the benefit of prayer?
Well, yeah.
I have. You know?
Found my keys the other day.
Excellent.
You know what? I find that St. Anthony never
And
fails.
there's 2 ways to find your keys.
Yeah.
2 ways to find your keys. You can remember where they are,
Right.
and you can explore and have an adventure and rediscover where they are. This is the
Or
same with truth. You can
pray
remember
and
it.
get clear of mind and go right to them.
It-
That happens. to me.
This is a very short adventure. It's like, tell me where they are. But yes, there's, and this is the same for truth. Truth can arise through a remembering or an adventure of some kind. And I forgot where I was going to go with prayer. Yeah. Some people say, well, the non-dual people, they won't pray. In my book, I talk about the serenity prayer. I really like the serenity prayer. Peace, be still, it proclaims on the wall here for us. I like the serenity prayer. Why? Because it's practical, right? How does the prayer go? God grant me. Now, a lot of non-dual wisdom teachers
You're asking, wait a minute, God
exactly.
or God, whatever. Grant
This is
me
meant
the-
to God. Yeah.
Okay, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change and
And the courage.
courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Exactly.
Very profound.
Exactly. And practical. Because it brings some peace, and you go, you know what? That is not my job. I don't need to worry about this and that and all these other things, right? But I have been guided to pay attention to this, where the rubber meets the road for me right now. Some type of inspiration that you might be guided to engage in. Engage without being entangled in selfish or self-centered desires or tendencies. So
is there a difference between self-centered desires and just
I just like to flesh it out a little bit more, you know, because sometimes here's what I see selfishness like. You're driving, it's raining, you need to go to the store, it's a big parking lot, there aren't many extra places, and you want one, you know, and somebody's going to they're not going to get in there. I'm getting in there. So you pull in there, and there's another person that you know you're not honoring. Right. This is selfishness. And you find out that person was handicapped. Ooh. But all the handicapped places were taken already. Right. And so now they're parking clear across creation, you know, but you don't care because you got yours. You know, this is selfishness. Self-centeredness is, I'm going to have a party, I'm going to buy this, I'm going to get this house. And there's no real person right there that you're harming. Do you see what I mean? So that's why I make the distinction between selfishness and self-centeredness. But most people can just hear some of that and they'll get the point. But back to what, go ahead. Can I just touch on one point? Because we're getting pretty close to our conclusion, but we can go however long we need to. Some people would criticize me for pointing to a prayer that begins with, God grant me. And here I am proclaiming that they are one. This is what I mean. There's a functional way of looking at this, where the character, God is speaking through the character from the perspective of the character, opening up to the totality of source and saying, please bring me something. God grant me the serenity.
Totality of source. But
you know that prayer can help. You don't have to worry about it. You just engage. You know, the funny thing is you don't have to figure any of this out. You don't have to buy into any of this stuff. You know what's going to happen as you go along with your life is you are going to be more and more polished up. You are going to become more peaceful. You're going to become more loving. You're going to become more joyous. And this joy is not necessarily the smile all the time joy. It is It is the lack of dissatisfaction. So if you're unhappy, if you're sad, I lost my father, I cried, but I was not dissatisfied that I was crying. I saw the profoundness of it.
Yeah.
I saw the
Okay.
beauty of it,
Yeah.
and the tears were flowing, you know? And so this is what I mean by that kind of joy. And there's also the joy that comes from service. It's different from the self-centered joy where I'm going to get that and I got that and now I'm going on this ride over here. And you see what I mean? There is a joy to this wisdom that is very deep, and a peace and love. These are three states that you feel emanating out of your being as a person. Joy radiates, peace radiates, love radiates, you know? And so as you turn on to these things, and it may not even be a conscious thing, what we've been doing now is we've been articulating it. We've been putting it in a cognitive fashion, but there is an opening of an intuitive understanding that's going to bring even more clarity so that the words that come in the future will be even clearer. And these clearer words are going to open up your intuition and deeper and deeper. And what this is like, there are actually several awakenings, but awakenings are kind of like those art forms that were made popular in like 2000, the Magic Eye, those really colorful books that were like a pattern of nothingness. Just, you looked at these bright colors and you look at it and you didn't see anything recognizable, no people, no things, no animals, no buildings, no structures, nothing. And then if you focused in just the right way, boom, a three-dimensional object would jump out, and they're called Magic Eye, and they're really fun. So when did that object exist? Did it came into you, you recognized it at a certain point in time. Is that when it was created? It was always there, but now you see it. And now that you've seen it, the example I talk about in my book and on my website is a dinosaur, three-dimensional dinosaur. Once you've seen it, you know it's there. Even though you may pick it up again and look at it and you don't see it again. I use the word see, but I'm using the word see a little loosely because you visually are seeing it. There's nothing blocked. It's showing up, but you're not recognizing it. And it can be that way with this. You can have a spiritual understanding, and then the next day, you'll be a little bit more out of touch with it. And then, oh yeah, again, you know, so once you see it, and also when people say, oh yeah, I see the dinosaur and it's got a big sombrero on it. We look at them because it doesn't have a big sombrero on it. And you know, they really don't see it, you know, because it is there, you know. So anyway, if there are some concluding thoughts or comments, I don't know if we can take any more questions, but we will be here again next week, and you can come late or leave early. And
Thank you.
so let's just give it a little bit of a.
It's at 7 or quarter of 7?
It starts at 7.
7.
Meditation's from 7 to 7:30.
But if you want to come early, you can.
And what I do, yeah, the reason why I said that the online people, they can come at about 6:30 for 15 minutes. So that gives
Online people, I don't understand.
anyone around the world that's found my website can click on a link and at 6:30 Pacific,
Ask questions.
Oh,
so they can be with me.
oh.
So if they've read some of my articles or my book or whatever, if they've somehow come aware, and this has amounted to, shall we check? We have, it says, I do believe it says 0 viewers. So if we put a 1 and then a couple more zeros, you know, but the point is, I want to spend some time with them where they don't feel like I'm away from them. Like right now it's been, and I want a time when I'm with you, you know, so right now it's just a 15-minute window, and I also want a gap. I don't want it to immediately shift. You know, I need to change some things around and stuff. So that's why there's a little bit there. So that's what's going on with that. So what I'd like to do is just take off the mic and start these things, all the technology. And then we can have a little circle.